In this video, I want to share my experience at using the Fiverr platform from a buyer's perspective to see whether this service is worth the trip. I've at times needed to use the gig-based outsourcing platform Fiverr to help me complete my projects in a timely fashion, considering I'm the only one working on my projects and that I work full-time. Most of my projects consist of writing, illustration, video recording and editing, all of which are services that can be found on Fiverr. Though I feel video recording would be difficult to outsource and I feel video editing is too expensive for the return that I currently get on my projects. I feel that some services are sensible and viable though. Fiverr is an easy access freelance company that enables basically anyone to provide services to the masses extremely easily, whilst also allowing, again, anyone to leverage this service to get things that they can't do or don't have time for very cheaply. The big question for buyers of these services though is whether the gigs, as Fiverr calls them, are value for money. For most things, I'd say that if you buy cheap, then you buy twice. In this video, I'll share my experience, and I'll add here that I've only really used Fiverr to get artwork created. I've not used the other numerous services that include writing, translations, voiceovers, coding, and plenty of others. So I've used Fiverr for three primary projects: a card game, my Learned brand for my online courses, and then my YouTube banner image. For the card game, simple images were required on tarot-sized cards as a physical product. I approached 3 Fiverr artists who created illustrations based upon the description I put on screen, then left it to them. I then got these printed and got some friends to come over and play this game. One of the snippets of feedback that I was keen to get hold of was which artwork style they preferred. This comparison was also towards artwork that I had drawn and work that a friend had done quickly as well. So the first illustration was of a cowboy with a rooster where his gun would be sheathed, and the second was with a snake inside a pair of trousers. The game required humour, so we needed the illustrations to fit in with this. The consensus was that these two images from the same artist were preferred by the peer group, comprising 8 people, and that the others weren't in keeping with the theme of the game. It turned out that these illustrations were the ones that I had done. I quite liked this one, but I wasn't going to go against the group decision. These images have been created over the space of 5 days, costing around £19 or $26 US, these taking 2 days, costing £15 or $21, and these taking 3 days, costing £8 or $11. This scenario seemed to show that commissioning these artworks was not worth the trip. Also worth noting that I think these illustrations from one artist was better than the other 2 Fiverr artists, yet they cost the least amount. The second project was to get a logo for my online course brand, so I thought this should be quite simple really. I sent this description to a couple of Fiverr artists back in 2019 to get the ball rolling. They came back with these logos from artist A and these from artist B. You may not agree with my opinion, but I was really disappointed at the results, not happy at all. As in many gigs, you can request revisions, and I did so this time round, giving far more guidance. I originally wanted to give a bit of creative freedom, but the creative side of things was absent in the first attempt. The results were these logos instead, which were far more in line with what I had in mind. However, they still didn't reflect the blurb that I had given. They just hadn't really listened to their customer. I needed something that could be small and monochrome. It also needs to be able to have the colour in black or white, depending on where the logo would go. None of these logos were good enough, and so I decided to have a go for myself, and ended up with this. Having spoken to a few friends and family, they agreed it was better than the alternatives. I also then created my own simple animation, which now proudly sits at the beginning of my online course videos. I paid £26 or $37 for these logos, and £10 or $14 for these. My logos and animation took me a weekend to do, and that included learning how to use Adobe After Effects. I wanted to give Fiverr another go recently this year, as I acknowledged the value outsourcing can provide me with if the quality is there. I found a Fiverr artist, Mr. Wah, who has said he's okay with me showing his stuff, and I requested a YouTube banner with quite a prescriptive message, which I'd come to the conclusion was necessary for these gigs. I was happy with the first copy, and I got exactly what I asked for. No revisions were required, it was promptly delivered, and I'd happily go back and get future artwork done when required. The lesson I've learnt with Fiverr is that you can get quality work if you find the right seller, Mr. Wah in my case. His account is linked in the description, and I'd recommend checking out his work, it's really great. Then if you're in need of some work on Fiverr, you can get a 20% discount off of your first order using the link I put in the description. This referral code does benefit me in some way for transparency, as shown here on the webpage. Hopefully this narrow focus review has given you worthwhile insight into commissioning work on Fiverr. I do think the lesson I've learned is transferable to other services too. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.